4 games remaining in the regular season, and the Golden State Warriors are keeping up to par with what they should be doing. Kylen Mills and I will break all of it down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. You can follow Kylen Mills on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Kylen Mills. You can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, on Twitter at DogSurf Roadshow. The Golden State Warriors take care of business. They did what they should have done. Look, a win's a win. Be happy about it, Dub Nation. They had to win. I mean, this is the San Antonio Spurs, a team who is now 19-58. The Golden State Warriors win at home, 130-115 in a game that was one of many tonight that had huge playoff implications. Kylen, first things first, good to see you. How are you? And your immediate reaction to the Golden State Warriors now 4 games above 500 with 4 to play.
So I think you pretty much summed it up, Cyrus. A win is a win. At the end of the day, this is the result the Warriors needed. What I will say is the start was disappointing. The Dubs had 2 days off. They're going up against the Spurs, who are also, strength, and they're already one of the worst teams in the NBA. The Dubs just came out absolutely slow. They look sloppy. They came out with 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes. That stood out to me. There has to be a better effort out the gate from the Warriors, especially coming in with the kind of rest that they have. The Dubs have everything to play for right now. The Spurs had nothing to play for. To me, they should have come out much stronger, and that's something they're going to have to clean up moving forward as they face more competitive teams and try to prepare for the postseason. On the bright side, like I said, the result was the result. This is a game the Warriors had to win. They delivered that. They were able to come up with a big fourth quarter, which is a major positive. Closing out games has been an area of concern for the Warriors. They did exactly that. They closed this one out really strong. But again, it's just the starts, digging themselves into holes and playing sloppy early in games that is a concern they're going to have to clean up and clean up fast as we are approaching the postseason here just around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 players stuck out to me from initial impressions, thinking back to the game. One is Jonathan Kuminga, the young 20-year-old. I was having a discussion just the other day with one of my Warrior insider friends. He was expressing that, he was a little disappointed in Jonathan Kuminga and how in year 2, he's not taking over games like he thought a player of his caliber should maybe. And my response immediately was, this is a player who really, when you look at his age, and compare it to academic years and the academic calendar, this really should be Jonathan Kuminga's rookie season. I mean, he's younger than Paolo Banchero and a lot of the current rookies. He doesn't turn 21 until October, and I think he's progressing perfectly. I have no complaints at all about Jonathan Kuminga. He started tonight, played 27 minutes and 12 seconds. He was 8 for 11 from the field, scored 17 points, grabbed 8 rebounds. I was absolutely impressed. Before I ask you your opinion on Jonathan Kuminga, I want to read these stats from courtesy of Kaminga Muse. It's a Twitter account that I'm getting amused by. Sorry, that was super corny. Kaminga Muse, the Twitter account, points this out. Jonathan Kuminga in March is averaging 14.2 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, shooting 60% from the field, 44% from the three-point line, easily the best month of his career. He's also, in terms of having the best month of his career, set personal highs for most field goals made, most three-pointers made, most steals, highest field goal percentage of his career in a month. He had the most 20-point games. He had the most 6 rebound games, the most 2 steal games, again, for a 20-year-old. I hope that was enough stats for you to praise Jonathan Kuminga. Your thoughts on how Kuminga's doing?
Jonathan Kuminga has been outstanding, and he's a player who I've said for a while now could be the X factor for the Warriors, even in the postseason. Even as a young player, he has the potential to have a major impact on the game. And during the Warriors' late push, since the All-Star break, really, every single time that he has a great performance, it seems like the Warriors win. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head in terms of like what the over/under is for Kuminga points and it making it actually correlate to Warriors wins, but it feels like when he's in double digits in scoring, the Warriors have a good chance because I think he does have the ability to really impact the game. Tonight, his 17 points came in a variety of ways. That's another thing I think that is really standing out to me about Jonathan Kuminga. Yes, he is able to get to the rim and dunk because he has incredible athleticism, but his ability to read the game is getting so much better. His confidence and aggression in the offense is so much better. He had one little, I'm trying to think what quarter it was, but he had a little show and go, stepped into the lane, fadeaway jumper, knocked it down and made it look easy. And I just thought, his game is really starting to elevate.
Yeah.
And the mid-range game is something we've also pointed out in past episodes. So to me, he just continues to grow. And that's the most exciting thing, is that he's nowhere close to done. He's nowhere close to plateauing. You mentioned just how young Jonathan Kuminga is. He didn't play a season in college, which is important to point out. He played in an abbreviated G League Ignite season, as the NBA experimented with having that developmental team instead of allowing players or having players go and play 1 year in college. And that I do think is, well, it was positive in that he was able to start playing in the G League environment. It's still not the same number of reps in terms of what the college season is. So I think the fact that Jonathan Kuminga is where he's at right now is so encouraging. You and I both said it all season. He has the potential to be a star in this league. What we've seen recently is evidence of the growth in Jonathan Kuminga that the Warriors were expecting to see this season.
Absolutely. And a few people in the chat are saying he needs more minutes. I agree. He played 27. Although tonight was a night where the Warriors, by the late fourth quarter, they kind of had the game in control. So you didn't really see any players getting the normal full run they would. Steph, for example, at 32 minutes. Where he normally plays 36, 37, 38. Klay was at 34. That's more on par. But then Draymond only played 29 minutes tonight. Because again, they had this game in control by mid-late fourth quarter. The other player I wanted to highlight was Gary Payton II. He definitely, in my humble opinion, looked the best since he's been back. He looked the most comfortable. That three-pointer from the corner was just smooth. Here's actually Gary Payton in the post game with Fitz and Kalena. This is courtesy of NBC Sports Bay Area, the flagship station of the Golden State Warriors for TV. And here is Gary Payton II talking to the TV broadcasters.
We'll let you go with this one. What's it like when you had that rebound? We heroed you, and then Klay hit the three on the cross court. Nearly 90 points from Steph, Klay, and Jordan. And you're a teammate, but you're also watching that, and your hustle is creating some of their shot opportunities. But 90 from those three guys, that's got to be fun to be a part of.
Oh, it's absolutely. I think I'm smiling most of the game just on plays like that. I know we play right basketball. We swing. It gets into a dangerous hand, and once he lets it go, you got like a 90% chance that that's going in. So, it's just try to make like I said, 50-50 balls and make the hustle plays, and our playmakers will do the rest.
I just love the fact that he's back with the team. It's his energy is infectious. His positivity is just, and his energy is just so in rhythm with the team. And I feel like almost, the whole Bay Area and the culture here, he just fits right in like a glove. And the numbers were smooth as well. He played almost.
See what you did there. He fit like a glove.
I'm corny tonight. He played almost 18 minutes. Again, he had that one corner three that was just smooth as silk. Had nothing but net. He was 1 for 2 from beyond the arc, 3 for 5 for the game. Had 8 rebounds. He was, I feel like, embodying, the bigger than what he really is type persona he has on the basketball court. For someone who's 6'2", 6'3", he plays like a big a lot of nights. And finished with 7 points, which for him is high. Your impression of Gary Payton II, who I don't know. Do you agree that that it was his best version of himself since he came to the Warriors tonight? Your thoughts?
I think that this was the best game we've seen Gary Payton II play thus far with the Warriors. Now, that is a very small evaluation window since he was injured for so long and recovering from that adductor issue that he was dealing with following an abdominal surgery. But to me, Gary Payton II definitely looked the best he'd looked. I really liked the minutes when Gary Payton II was out there with Dante DiVincenzo. Those two really are a 1-2 punch. They had a couple of connections in terms of passing it on the offensive end. And then they're just such a dominant duo defensively. offensively, such outstanding perimeter defenders. I kind of like them actually working together and that 1-2 punch and just explosion of energy you get when those two are inserted into the game.
Yeah.
And then exactly. So I also wanted to point out, and actually while you were talking about Gary Payton II, if you saw me glance down, I was trying to look at my phone to bring up exactly what minute that play happened at. In terms of the fourth quarter, there was a major play where Gary Payton II just like ran down a loose ball. I think it was bouncing around after a rebound or after a shot, got on the floor, was able to somehow come up with it. Like they showed the replay and he should not have come up with this ball, but he dove. And those are the things, the intangibles that Gary Payton II brings to this team that no other player can replicate. That's something I just tweeted out, is that Gary Payton II brings an energy, a heart, a hustle that no one else has. And I firmly believe that. Yes, there are players who also play with heart and hustle. And yes, there's the Draymond Green, who's the vocal energizer bunny of this team. But Gary Payton II has another layer to him. What other players in the NBA get cut from a team and then say, hey, can I come back to practice tomorrow? Or even considers applying for a video coordinator position with the organization, which is something that GP2 had said that he was thinking about when he didn't know what his future with the Warriors might be. So to me, he's unmatched. What he brings to the game is just something that is so special. I'm so happy to see him back with the Golden State Warriors, happy to see him back in the uniform and finally healthy and seeming to thrive at this point. We hope that he continues to feel good and is able to contribute as we approach the postseason.
Absolutely. And the postseason is just around the corner. When we come back, we're going to talk about the postseason implications of tonight's game and the other games in the NBA and also Andrew Wiggins. There is some chatter going on. We touched on this on Wednesday's show with Hall of Famer Rick Barry, and Kylen, one of your former colleagues, tweeted something interesting about Wiggins today as well. We'll discuss that and so much more. First, gotta give some love to FanDuel, the official sports book of Locked On Warriors. There's our beautiful overlay right there. Now I just need the ad copy, and then I can actually talk about FanDuel and what they want me to say. Here we go. The tournament, March Madness. My alma mater, Kylen, is in the Final Four, which is insane. The tournament is heating up. There's no better place to get in on the action. I mean, the San Diego State Aztecs. I should have mentioned that. Then FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet. You probably heard that tagline in all sorts of TV commercials and other shows, and they could give you back up to $1,000. That's a G back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team's going to be cutting down the net, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. I want to play this soundbite real quick from Steve Kerr talking about Gary Payton's energy and his impact in tonight's game. A tremendous positive. Here is the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr.
8 rebounds, 4 offensive, 4 defensive, the plus minus, everything. Did you feel like this was such an example of what he brings to you guys?
Yeah. I mean, he affects the game in so many ways, obviously with his defense, but his ability to rebound, get loose balls, just make impact plays. He's a huge addition for our team, so it's great to have him back.
Speaking about the loose balls, I think there was one where he's on the floor there. Steph ended up scoring, and he kind of almost gave him, not a chest bump, but kind of went into his chest there, just almost like a thank you. Is the loose balls, the energy that he brings from that, can that kind of culminate throughout the rest of the team?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we need that. We need that energy. We need that athleticism. We have not been a team that has been great getting to loose balls this year. It's actually a stat, and we're near the bottom of the league in retrievals of loose balls. So Gary can help in that regard, create extra possessions, and make big plays for us.
Yeah, it was just a great night for Gary Payton II. Good to see him starting to get his rhythm back. Rick Barry was on this show because the postseason's around the corner. Seeing Gary Payton II come to form is huge. The Warriors are going to need that, but they're also going to need Andrew Wiggins if they realistically want to win the whole thing. If they really want to be repeat world champions for the second time, with the last like 6 years, 7 years. On Wednesday's show, Rick Barry comes on and reveals that he's heard that Andrew Wiggins is going to come back soon. You just said it so nonchalantly. It kind of maybe take a step back. And then your former colleague from Cron, Jason Dumas, did I pronounce that right? Is it Dumas? Dumas, I apologize. So Jason Dumas tweeted today that he's heard that Wiggins is back in the Bay Area. Your thoughts on that? I mean, you know Jason better than most. He's incredible when it comes to sources. Sometimes he'll just drop tidbits out of the blue that I'm just going, where the hell did he get that information from? He has connections. So that's you heard it here first though on Wednesday, but more and more the inklings are kind of dropping that Andrew Wiggins might come back soon. What are you feeling about all this, Kylen?
So initially, with each day that has gone by without Andrew Wiggins as a part of the team, I've been thinking that the chances he comes back are getting slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. However, to hear that he's back in the Bay Area, and also recently, Steve Kerr and Bob Myers had both confirmed that Wiggins has been working out and he has been exercising, staying fit, which is something that's an immediate concern when you have a player who's been away from the team for so long, since essentially the All-Star break. How will he be able to get his fitness back up to contribute potentially if he comes back in time for the postseason? So that's all positive. It still remains to be seen. If he's back in the Bay Area, that's a good thing. But will he come back? I mean, at this point, he needs to be back in the next week, 2 weeks in order to be able to contribute in the postseason. He still has to get back out on a basketball court and rejoin the team, even if he has been working out. So time is running out. It's a positive if he's back in the Bay Area. I think we'll just have to see. Do I have an inkling of whether he's going to come back or not? I mean, initially I'm thinking no, because again, with the more time that passes, the later it gets in the regular season, it just kind of has seemed that the writing is on the wall that, maybe what's best for him is that he just, finishes out the season focusing on his family. Yeah. But if he is back in the Bay Area, there has been chatter from the staff that he is working out and he is staying ready, then I'm feeling definitely a lot more hopeful than I was a couple days ago. So we'll just have to see. It's hard because when you go into the postseason, you want that momentum, you want the chemistry. And it seems like every time an injured player, even an injured star like Steph Curry, comes back into the Warriors lineup, it seems to kill the chemistry and the momentum. Yeah. Even Curry's rejoining the team, seemed to throw off the rotations, and the Warriors had been playing well. GP2 initially coming back, I just feel like there still is a transition process for a player returning to the team. And so that's my only concern, is if Andrew Wiggins does come back and they're trying to integrate him in time for the postseason, there still may be some type of transition period where, the Warriors are going to have to readjust the rotations in their lineups. You just added not Wiggins. You just added GP2 back in the mix, the potential of adding Wiggins. Now suddenly you've got to make a lot of adjustments in terms of how these rotations are working, how players are working with each other, who's taking on what different type of role. And so if that's all going to come together, it's got to come together fast. So if Wiggins is coming back, I hope it's soon.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I agree with literally everything you said there. But look, I would say this, just to add on to what you said. If we were going to be hearing speculation, I'd much rather the speculation leading towards him coming back than hearing stuff about him maybe not coming back at all, or hearing some negative news. So look, it is speculation, but because even Rick himself said, I'm not confirming this, but look, Rick's a connected individual. So is Jason Dumas, and they're both hearing things indicating that Wiggins may come back sooner than later. Before we move on from tonight's game, again, the Warriors won 130 to 115. Despite the 115 by the Spurs, I thought defensively they played sound basketball. A lot of those points came late as the Spurs were just a bunch of tryhards that would not go away. Again, like you said, Kylen, they just had nothing to lose. A few stats to point out. Steph and Curry had yet another beautiful game, a game that will just, just kind of go under the radar. People won't talk about it because for Steph, it's just another night. 33 points, 5 assists. A meager 2 rebounds by his standards. That's just awful. But 7 for 11 from beyond the arc. He shot just above 50% from the field in a season where he's pursuing this for the second time in his career, hitting the 50-40-90 mark. Shot 11 for 21. And then his splash brother, Klay Thompson, who's been struggling as of late. It was great to see him look good tonight. He finished with 31 points, shot 50% from beyond the arc, went 7 for 14, went 11 for 18 from the field overall. Again, is the Splash Brothers back to business tonight. Even the turnovers were down for both of them, only had one turnover for each. And then even Jordan Poole had a great night, 27 minutes. I feel like he's starting to adjust and assimilate to the bench role. He's not struggling like he has been. Tonight, 27 points, shot 6 of 13 from beyond the arc, 8 of 17 from the field, added 6 assists. Only had, well, not only, but 3 turnovers, not the end of the world. Your thoughts on whatever the Splash Party, whatever nickname people tried and failed to come up with last year for those 3. Your thoughts on the team's 3 most dynamic shooters.
I think positive. You mentioned Steph Curry's performance. And to me, like, the Splash Brothers aren't a huge question mark. Klay Thompson has still been a little bit inconsistent, but Steph Curry, he deserves an off night every once in a while, because aside from that, he's put the team on his back. So, like, that's not even a thing for me to evaluate his performance. I think Jordan Poole is the key of that trio, because when Jordan Poole shows up and puts in big numbers off the bench, that really makes a huge difference to the Warriors' success. He led the Dubs with 15 points in the first half. He was a big part of the second quarter push for the Warriors. And that's where I think that he really stood out and made a difference. Not to totally change topics, but I did want to address a question that was in regards to the Wiggins topic that was in the chat.
Yeah.
And the question was from Dennis B, where will the minutes come from in terms of Andrew Wiggins being reintegrated? And then also several people were asking, what about JaMychal Green? His minutes are already gone. And several people had commented regarding tonight's game, like, what's going on with Jay Green? So something I wanted to mention about that is, first of all, Anthony Lamb minutes should be gone. That should be a thing of the past come the postseason. Like, any Lamb minutes automatically should be going to Andrew Wiggins. And I also don't mind JaMychal Green getting some minutes in a postseason rotation, matchup dependent, or, just depending on the situation. And I think there are situations where he could be useful. So that's the number one thing for me, is because Anthony Lamb played 23 minutes tonight. Like, that automatically come postseason, those minutes are going to go to someone else. And if you got Andrew Wiggins back in the mix, that's great.
And before,
one thing I want to mention as well is that Steve Kerr was asked about JaMychal Green in the post game. He said very simply, he's out of the rotation right now. There's a lot of guys, a lot of talent on the roster, up and down. He didn't, give any real specifics about, like, there's nothing JaMychal Green has done. There weren't any real specific reasons. He's just kind of like, hey, that's just the way this rotation has worked out. As he always says, Steve Kerr, there's an ebb and flow. That's not to say he won't be in the rotation tomorrow, next week, come the postseason. But right now he's out of it. And for whatever reason, Steve Kerr feels good about what's working right now. So I don't expect to see a ton of JaMychal Green on Sunday.
Yeah. Do you want to hear that? Do you want to hear that soundbite you were alluding to from Kerr?
Did he say anything else? I didn't really hear anything else interesting aside from just him mentioning basically that JaMychal Green's out of the rotation. So I don't know that that we need to play the soundbite, but I just think it's worth mentioning. He's not in the rotation. As far as Andrew Wiggins' minutes, though, it's going to be a little bit of a dogfight in terms of who's going to get minutes in the postseason, which is the situation you want to be in. You want to have talent. Also, something Steve Kerr did mention also in the post game comments on JaMychal Green is that Gary Payton II had to take someone's minutes, and even though those two don't play the same position, Gary Payton II's role is still cutting into multiple people's minutes off the bench, regardless of position.
Well, that's why I wanted to play that soundbite real quick, just because he actually gets a little specific and partly blames Gary Payton II. It's a really short clip. Let's hear what Kerr has to say real fast.
Steve, JaMychal Green's got 2 straight DNPs. Is that? And I think he's only played 4 minutes since Gary got here. Is that matchup based, or is there just not enough minutes to go around now that Gary's here?
With Gary's addition, he's chewing up, tonight 18 minutes, and those have to come from somewhere, So right now, JaMychal is out of the rotation, but it doesn't mean that's how it's going to be forever. He's just got to stay ready, and his time will come.
Yeah, yeah, the minutes have to come from somewhere. Why is it not coming from Anthony Lamb? I do agree that I think when Wiggins comes back, those are where the Lamb minutes are that's why Lamb's getting these minutes. For some reason, Kerr just looks at Lamb and sees Andrew Wiggins' replacement. And like it's just a consistent huge chunk of minutes night after night. And again, I wouldn't mind it personally if it was like 8 minutes. If it was maybe 10 minutes, like I could stomach that. I could live with that. But he got 22 minutes, 47 seconds tonight. And look, I know Anthony Lamb is someone that people who like him will say, you can't look at the stat sheet, in terms of his impact. And you certainly can't tonight. He scored 2 points total. He was 0 for 2 from beyond the arc, and 3-point shooting supposed to be his one strength offensively. But I would personally prefer Jonathan Kuminga getting 5 more minutes. I would personally prefer JaMychal Green not getting DNP'd and just completely forgotten about. And the part that I don't really, or Moses Moody's another player that I feel like it could play more minutes. I personally, this is just me, but look, Steve Kerr, there's a part of him that for example, his offense is phenomenal, right? Like he's a brilliant tactician when it comes to running an offense. He's taken the best of Phil Jackson's triangle. He's taken the best of Greg Popovich's motion offense and created what we have now, the split action that is just one of the most difficult offenses in the NBA to stop. There are a lot of things about Steve Kerr that make him a phenomenal coach. But I feel like a lot of times when he decides or when he makes decisions based on like instinct or intuition, when he kind of like defies what seems to make most sense logically and maybe like defies what the numbers are telling him, and he just goes off like his instincts, he's not always right. Sometimes how he feels is not necessarily reflect the right decision. And this is just one of them where, agree to disagree. For anyone who thinks Lamb deserves these 22 minutes, I don't like seeing JaMychal Green coming off getting DNPs. I apologize. I don't like Moses Moody, for example, tonight getting 1 minute 47 seconds in garbage time. I would like to see Jonathan Kuminga get 5 more minutes. I really hope when Andrew Wiggins comes back, that's where those minutes will evaporate. I hope. I don't know. Anything you want to add to
that? Nope. I agree with you.
Okay. So yeah, and look, and I want to make one thing very clear. This season is the very first time I think I've ever criticized Steve Kerr. He's done things that I've disagreed with in the past, but there were such minor things, right? Like it wasn't even worth really speaking up over. But this year, this is the first time. I'm not like a Kerr hater, like my mom the other day, for example, and I feel like if you're a good person, you at least listen to the parents when they say something to you. You don't have to always agree or do what they say. But my mom the other day was like, are you being a little too harsh on Steve Kerr? So of course I listened to it and reflected. And then I asked Rick Barry as well on the show just Wednesday, like, is he susceptible to criticism? And Rick was like, absolutely. He's a head coach. And I thought back to all my criticism, and none of it's personal. It's not like I'm attacking him for who he is. I just don't agree with the minute distribution this year. I just think it's kind of wacky. So there's that, but it doesn't mean I want his head on a platter. He's one of the greatest coaches ever, and whatever happens after this year, I am very curious. But if he stays, obviously I'll be happy. What are your thoughts on that, by the way? We have a few minutes here. We got some time. Steve Kerr, he's going to be a lame duck coach after this season. Connor Letourneau wrote a great column the other day about Draymond Green's future with the team, and how Draymond will very likely exercise that player option. And he's probably going to be an unrestricted free agent after this year. And Connor's insinuation in his article, which I agree with, is that if this team has a bad postseason, and we're going to get into the latest, postseason possibilities for the Warriors in a moment here, but Connor's inferred that if the Warriors are an early out, if they struggle in the postseason, that could mean the end of a lot of things. It can mean Bob Myers not coming back, even though I've heard differently, and I don't think he's going anywhere. But it could mean Draymond Green gone for good, because if they have an early exit, I don't think the Warriors are going to give him a new big deal, right? I mean, if they have an early exit this year, they might start looking ahead to the next phase of the Golden State Warriors in terms of who's actually playing on the court. And it also makes me wonder about Steve Kerr. I mean, will Steve Kerr, if this team struggles, if they don't repeat as world champions or at least make like a really deep run, if Steve Kerr is a lame duck coach after the season, do you think he comes back? Like, what do you think happens there? I'm really curious and fascinated by what is going to transpire with that. Like, do you think if they have a bad season will Steve Kerr be a lame duck coach next year and just play it out? Will the team still offer him an extension? What do you think's going to happen? Your thought?
I think it's very possible that the future of the Warriors will be impacted based on how this postseason goes. I think there's a very real possibility if the Warriors are unsuccessful that there could be a lot of change. You mentioned Bob Myers, Draymond Green's future uncertain, Steve Kerr. We still got Klay and Steph for a little bit longer, but I do think that a potential early exit could be ominous for the Warriors, and I think there absolutely could be the possibility for change. Bruce Morrow just pointed out in the chat that Draymond Green said on his podcast that he wants to play 4 more years.
He did.
And that's, kind of it. So, you're getting to the end of the run, and where if Draymond decides that he wants to experience playing somewhere else, he wants to play somewhere else before he retires, maybe whatever is happening with the Warriors, they decide they want to move on from the dynasty and really start the next era. I mean, I think it's possible. I think anything's possible at this point. However, to me, it's one of those things where if it's, and that what they've said last season is, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So with a championship team, why would they break up the dynasty? I mean, it's exactly what happened with the Bulls. I know Kerr saying this isn't the last dance, but when you look at the last dance, the dynasty was broken up, in my opinion, too soon. And so, it's a situation where the Warriors win. I think they're going to keep riding this out. They're going to ride this out as long as possible.
Yeah.
If the season goes another direction, and there were questions for a while as to whether or not they'd make the postseason. Now looking at the 4-game stretch they have coming up, and I know we're going to talk about that in a second, I feel much better about where we're at. They're going to make the postseason. And, a 6-3 matchup if they're facing the Kings, I do feel good about. I think the Kings will be tough, but the Warriors have the experience factor. But again, we'll break all that down. But for some reason, if there's a huge disappointing end to the season, I think there are some tougher conversations happening versus if the Warriors make a late push in the season, if they go far in the playoffs after all the adversity they faced this season, then I think you can make a case for let's run it back another year. If it comes to a disastrous end, which who knows what we're going to see when this team's in a playoff situation based on the ups and downs we've had this season, then I think a lot more difficult conversations are going to be had. And that's where I don't feel as confident that this entire group is going to come back. The core is going to come back in its entirety. And the core, I include Steve Kerr and Bob Myers in that everyone's going to come back and run it back next season. If for some reason this is, this season comes to a disastrous end, basically.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think that's you're absolutely right. I think that's what's going to happen. So the Warriors right now, in terms of the playoff scenario, after today's game, thankfully they won. They're still 6th in the standings, but they're now in a dead even tie with the LA Clippers. The Clippers lost tonight. So the games of note from this evening, the Suns beat the Nuggets 100-93. So the Suns, I think, have the four seed pretty much locked down. It would take a lot for them to lose the 4 seed at this point. The Lakers beat the Timberwolves 123-111, which helps the Warriors because the Minnesota Timberwolves are a potential threat to the Warriors in terms of overall standings. The Timberwolves, with this loss, though, dropped to 9, and the Lakers are now the 7 seed, Kylen. Could you believe that? That's crazy. They're a game above 500. They're literally a game and a half behind the Warriors, pursuing them for the 6th seed. So that was a game of ramifications tonight. And then one other game that was important was the Clippers losing to the Grizzlies, 108-94. So from those games, again, the Suns right now have the 4 seed. They own the tiebreaker outright over the Golden State Warriors. So it's doubtful the Warriors will catch Phoenix. They're a game and a half behind them. But the Warriors and Clippers are in a dead heat. And what's going to separate those two is division record. The Clippers right now are 7-7. The Golden State Warriors are 6-9 in the division. But the Clippers have 2 more divisional games remaining on their schedule, and they could easily lose those. Those 2 games are at home against the Lakers and then on the road at Phoenix. And so if they lose those 2, then I think the next tiebreaker is one-loss percentage against playoff-bound teams. I kid you not. And I have no idea what the team's records are there. But basically right now, the way it's sitting is that the Warriors and Clippers will likely battle it out for who's going to finish 5th and who's going to finish 6th. And whoever finishes 5th will probably play Phoenix. Whoever finishes 6th will probably play the Sacramento Kings. Do you have a preference? What are you thinking about that right now?
I hate saying these types of things because then everyone takes it as slander against one team or the other. And especially because I know a lot of not Suns fans, a lot of Kings fans are really sensitive right now because they feel like they've been disrespected by the national media. Everyone's writing them off in the postseason. And I think they're right to feel that way because what the Kings have done this season has been incredible. They've had one of the most dominant and electric offenses in the NBA, and they deserve their flowers. But with the Suns, with Kevin Durant back healthy, who has not been up until this point, at least not for a significant stretch with the Suns, I worry more about that matchup than I do about the Kings. And I think the Kings have done an excellent job. Their offense. So again, I hate answering these questions because then it's always like it's slander towards one team. But I would prefer the Kings over the Suns
Easily.
at this point. But I'm not by any means saying it's going to be a cakewalk for the Warriors. And I have seen some rhetoric like that, even in the national media, like Warriors, would walk right through the Suns because the Warriors have experience. I don't think that's the case. I think people need to respect the Kings. But I do think that Suns team could be scary with Durant fully healthy. And we haven't really seen his full capabilities with that group yet because of the injury issues.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If he's healthy. And again, this is all if he's healthy. If Kevin Durant's not healthy, then, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah. I personally think if you're a Kings fan, you should know enough to know how dangerous Kevin Durant is, how dangerous Devin Booker is. To me, it's a foregone conclusion which team you'd rather face in the first round. It's Sacramento. I mean, never mind Draymond Green's reasoning, which is travel. And he did make a great point, by the way, because if it's Warriors Kings, there's no flight. There's no air travel. It's a bus. You're just sitting on a bus for an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on traffic. So, the travel aspect of it is way easier on the players. I will say this as well. If Andrew Wiggins comes back and it is Warriors Kings, I will already predict Warriors in 6. It's so like night and day how this thing is going to be mapped out. The Warriors will literally make sure this thing ends at Chase Center in game 6. They'll find a split between games 1 and 2. And for the Kings, ultimately, look, what they've done this year is phenomenal. I mean, their first playoff berth in 16 years. I love the energy of the city of Sacramento in terms of their passion for that team. I mean, I'm never going to forget just how crazy that whole city went back when they played in Arco, which was in the middle of nowhere. And they're having those infamous battles like in the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers, for example. I feel for Kings fans who got screwed over by Tim Donaghy. Yes, the referees literally screwed you over. It might have prevented you from being a world champion. It's crazy yet true. So I feel you, and I love the fan base there. But experience matters. It goes hugely into a lot of my beliefs in terms of variables that translate to success is playoff experience, world championship experience. That experience is so valuable because it feeds into confidence. It lets you know not only that you can do it, but it also like prepares you because the emotions are so different. The referees call it completely differently. You could feel the pressure in the postseason games. It just doesn't exist in any of these regular season affairs. So I think it's Warriors in 6. If it's Warriors Kings first round, I'm saying it now. I feel that great about it. And that's if Andrew Wiggins shows up. Yeah. Peace sign.
I'm just putting up the peace sign because we got to wrap it up, Cy. We're coming up on our time.
Yeah, let's go.
But no, I totally agree. I agree with everything you said. Warriors got a huge game against the Nuggets coming up on Sunday, and I'm very excited to see how they respond because if you want to talk about how the Warriors are going to perform, if they can execute because they have that experience in the postseason, this could be a foreshadowing of a postseason matchup we could possibly see. So they've got to be able to deliver. It's going to be a really tough game on the road.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how this is working out in the Warriors' favor. I mean, the way it's mapping out right now, it's likely going to be Warriors Kings in round 1. Ultimately, the team out of all the teams, that is who you want if you're the Warriors for your opening round opponent. That would lead to probably the Grizzlies, a team they've already proven and shown they can beat. So they have the psychological edge there. That would lead to a Western Conference Finals matchup against Denver, a team they handily beat in last year's first round. I know they're deeper. I know they're better. I still think the Warriors can take care of business. And by the way, they're playing the Nuggets in their next game Sunday. Before we go, here's Klay saying he's confident that the Warriors can win that game. Here's Klay.
You guys are getting ready to go on the road. And in the past, like when you've had a homestand, you guys have played well, sort of built momentum, and then it goes back to the road. What's your confidence level going into this final stretch that you guys, like how you guys will play on the road?
I'm very confident that we can win a couple more games on the road, 3 even. I know Denver is a tough place to play, but we've won there before in the regular season and playoffs, so we got to rely on our experience and just our hunger, especially this point in the season. But it's not going to be an easy task going in there and getting a win, but I know we're more than capable.
They are. I like what Energy Manifest says. Dubs is the only team, never mind the bad grammar, that can beat the Dubs. Absolutely right. Kylen, have a great weekend. We'll tweet out when we're going to do our next show. Follow us on Twitter @LockedOnDubs. Thank you, Kylen. Bye, everyone. Take care. Peace. Oh, I'm going on Krug's show right now if you want to join me. Bye.